Woohoo! We are live. This is Math 60, Intermediate Algebra. We're in 8.3 and we have descended into our own heart of darkness because we started off with the discriminant and all of a sudden we're in rational equations and things are just going to get weird from here. Basically, what's happening is 8.3 is the discriminant, which was very important, but also dealing with equations that don't look like they're quadratic, but all of a sudden are suddenly quadratic for whatever bizarre reason. So that's what we're working on. And this is going to be the second video like this. I've got a couple problems to do and then woohoo, we're done. So let's take a look at this equation. This is rational, which means a couple things. It means that right off the bat, we have to talk about restrictions. So in this case, b cannot be 0, and it also cannot be 5. So we just know that from the outset. If that's part of our solution set, then we're going to have to, make it pretty and say, no, don't do this. Imagine you were going to give this equation to your grandmother or your auntie or uncle, someone you love, maybe your little nephew, your little niece is the word, there we go, or your perhaps you have, I'm trying to remember what it's called and I can't, maybe you have a gender neutral child who belongs to one of your siblings and neither a nephew or a niece. It's somebody you love and you're giving them this equation. You also want to give them a warning, don't do this because otherwise the whole thing will explode. Okay, having said that and wasted about 1:51 seconds, we will look at this and say, okay, we got to come up with some common denominators. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear fractions. So my LCD is going to be, now I know there's a whole bunch of pants math we could do, but there's nothing I can do about this. It is just the product of all of these. I have to multiply by all three of them. So what does that mean? Well, I multiply by 2b, b minus 5 over 1 times 1/2 plus 2b, b minus 5 all over 1 times 1 over b. And that's equal to 2b, b minus 5 all over 1 times 1 over b minus 5. Now, I know this is not the way a lot of people go about it. And I just want to say, well, you're wrong, but I will let you continue in your wrongness. You could do it however you like, but this really is the best way to do it. I don't know. I know it's like banging my head against a wall made of diamond. I'm just making little ripples. I'm not really getting anything through, but I will try because look at this beauty. I cancel the b minus 5. I cancel the b. I cancel the 2. And then here I've got b times b minus 5 times 1 plus 2b minus 5 times 1 equals 2b times 1. No denominators. It is so beautiful. It's like the heavens open up and the universe is singing. Ah, it says, look, there are no denominators. Okay. So here I get b squared minus 5b plus 2b minus 10. Notice the times ones aren't going to change anything. Equals 2b, or not 2b. I'm sorry, I can't help myself. It always says it that way. So over here on the left, I've got b squared minus 3b minus 10. And over here, I've got 2b. I'm trying not to say it. Ugh. I think it's going to cause an aneurysm. It's just going to be stuck in my head if I don't say it, or not to be. There we go. There, thank goodness. Saved from certain death. B squared minus 5b minus 10 equals 0. Now I'm going to tell you, this is not your friend. It looks friendly. It's not friendly. Now let's use the quadratic formula. B equals the opposite of negative 5 plus or minus. I know b is supposed to be, it's not the same b. Negative 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times 10, not 10, negative 10, sorry, all over 2 times 1. Okay. 5 plus or minus negative 5, the quantity squared is 25, minus 4 times 1 times negative 10 is plus 40 all over 2. This is 5 plus or minus radical 65 all over 2. Now let's think. I got my square bear. And my square bear is waiting outside, but 65 is 5 times 13. It's not nice. Nobody can run. It cannot be simplified. That's it. That's your final answer. So your two answers are going to be 5 plus radical 65 over 2, or 5 minus radical 65 over 2. Then we look up at the top and we say, okay, what were we avoiding? We were so naive. We were saying, don't let B be 0 or 5. We were thinking, it's probably going to be lovely. It's not lovely. It's these two answers. So, and you know what? I'm feeling frustrated because I don't know where I do not know where I have put. Oh, I see it. Here, I will let Spider entertain you while I grab my handy dandy calculator. And let's go ahead and let's see what we can see. Oof, that was scary, whatever I was doing before. Blah. Let's not talk about that. So how would I approximate this if someone had, these are the exact answers. But what if someone said, okay, fine, but what the heck is that number equal to? Then you say, okay, so here we go. I would do 5 plus, and then in my calculator, I do the square root first. You see the square root, and then I put the 65 in, and then I close the parenthesis, and then that's the numerator. I'm going to go ahead and do equals, and then I divide by 2 to get to the denominator, and then that's going to be, looks like 6.53. Let me round to 2 digits. If it asks for 2 digits, if it asks for 1, then it would just be 6.5. If it asks for more, it would be whatever it would be. Or, okay, the next one is 5 minus radical 65 equals, divide by 2. It's negative 1.53. Remember that they won't always be the same answer, just plus and minus. A lot of times they'll be different. In this case, there's one positive and one negative, which is satisfying. But those are the answers. Woohoo. Or those two. Just depends on what answer it asked you for. So these are the approximations. Doesn't approximation seem like it sounds like a street or a city on the East Coast near Washington, D.C.? It sounds like that to me. Okay, we're at 8 minutes and 9 seconds, so let's go ahead. Dun, dun, dun! This is the ultimate, meaning the last, problem in Chapter 8. Dun, dun, dun! And it doesn't look like a quadratic at all. In fact, it looks like there's bears swarming. X plus radical x equals 6. This is the last problem. This is supposed to be the hard one. This is supposed to be the one that challenges everything you know about life itself. This is the one that makes you think that, Being John Malkovich actually was a movie that made sense. This is the one that makes Pi the movie make sense. This is the one that makes Reefer Madness and Naked Lunch. And what was the other one I was just thinking about? Oh, Eraserhead. Compared to Eraserhead, this doesn't. Wait. Compared to this, I said it backwards. Compared to this, Eraserhead makes sense. Woohoo. Okay, so now that you've fallen in again into the Heart of Darkness, I know the Heart of Darkness was a big book when I was little. X plus radical x equals 6. This you could accidentally stumble onto an answer, but you wouldn't stumble onto the complete answer. So let me show you how I would approach it as a mathematician. Because I know it's in this section, I know that the problems in this section require a 0. So we got ourselves a 0. 0! Yay! If you're ever like stranded on desert island, everyone's like, okay, I'll go get water and I'll go get fire, and you could be like, I'll find the 0. And everyone was like, thank goodness someone has to find it. Okay, so there's the 0. It's right there. Now I'm gonna write something weird. You guys ready? X can be seen as radical x squared. If you accept that, everything's good. If you're like, what the what? Then I don't know what to say. Because honestly, I've been recording all day and I'm just a little bit tired, a little fuzzy. And most of what I would say would involve me pointing at one and pointing at the other and saying, see, it's the same. So radical x, the square root of x squared, square root and square undo each other. So x can always be seen as the square of its square root. Okay. In this format, we can use the quadratic formula. So, but in this case, again, I'll use W. I'm going to put W wherever I see the radical x, I'm going to put W. Okay. So I got W squared plus W minus 6. And you might already know how to factor this, but let's just go ahead. Let's go ahead and use the quadratic formula. It's the opposite of b, -1 plus or minus radical b squared, 1 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times -6, which is c, all over 2 times 1, which is a. Okay, -1 plus or minus radical 1 plus 24 minus a minus gave us the plus, all over 2. -1 plus or minus radical 25 all over 2. That's -1 plus or minus 5 all over 2. That's -1 plus 5 over 2, or -1 minus 5 over 2. This is 4 over 2, or -6 over 2. Finally, W equals 2 or -3. But remember, W, dun, 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 is radical x. So radical x equals 2 or -3. So what does x equal? Well, if radical x equals 2, then x equals 4, right? If radical x equals -3, that can't happen. Now, if radical x equals -3, then x should be 9, right? So let's look what happens when x equals 4 and x equals 9. X can't be 9, though. It's crossed out. Let's go back up here. Let's look, because it's only 13 minutes, so I got a couple minutes. So if x is 4, 4 plus square root of 4, 4 plus 2 is 6. Woohoo! What if it's 9? 9 plus square root of 9 is 3. What is it thinking? It was thinking that what was happening was, if this is -9 minus 3 gives us 6. But because square root always picks the positive, we lose some of the solutions. So your solution for this is just that x equals 4, and this is extraneous. You did it. You did it. You guys survived the heart of darkness. That was it. Next up, some other weird stuff. You're going to love it. Woohoo. I'm not even going to tell you about it yet because you'll love it so much. Yay. Okay. Math on, guys.